Today's video is my attempt to get views by recreating a classic format of content creator beef. Unfortunately, I don't have the budget to hire an excavator to swing my editor from in the hopes of blinding his left eye. But I do have a screwdriver! Which reminds me of YouTubers who have a few screws loose. Which gets me to the beef that I'm actually reviving, React-Gate. Except guess what? I'm on the side of XQC and not Ethan Klein. It's awesome to be able to just sit there watching slop and earning heaps of money for it. You can literally get paid to watch YouTube. What monster could be opposed to that? It's the world's funnest, most perfect job. Next, we're gonna hear that Ethan has a problem with the second funnest job, Coroner. And look, originally I was gonna try and revive the original gate, Watergate, for the clout. But I found it way too hard to break into the Watergate Hotel. My suction cup climbing device wasn't working well enough. Now, animate me climbing up Watergate Hotel with suction cups. Oh, this is hard as, boys. I'm so high up. Here's the rub. I did a live stream reacting to one of the hottest content creators around, Guardian Full Story Podcast. It's basically Australia's version of Full Scene Podcast. They both interview world leaders. Trust me, it wasn't just a stream where I went to the toilet for 20 minutes and let the podcast play out. The original podcast was 20 minutes. My stream was 2 hours and 20 minutes. Yes, I had diarrhea, but that's beside the point. I actually talked for hours and critiqued the points of the podcast, which was titled, Why a Hung Parliament May Be Good for Australia. Now, Guardian, originally I agreed with your premise. Naturally, you want confident ministers. You want a prime minister who can confront the leader of China, the president of the USA, the princess of Andorra, and emanate that particular energy that can only come from the quiet confidence of having a huge schlong. But as I kept watching the Guardian podcast, there was no talk at all about Albo's horsecock. Just about how minority government could be good for Australia. Turns out there's two types of hung parliament. The good one that we have at the moment, and the shitty one that the Guardian podcast was fantasizing about. Now, if you want my critiques of the Guardian, you can watch my magnum opus entitled, I'm Right About Everything, Fight Me. It's a 2 hour, 20 minute live stream I did about their podcast. Oh wait, you can't. It was copyright struck by The Guardian. So just watch this scripted video instead. Or alternatively, if you want to know why the Guardian podcast hosts are idiots, you could look at the permanent shit show that is the Tasmanian state government. So that's the internet beef. I did a live stream critique of the Guardian podcast that was fundamentally transformative and fair use of the original content by virtue of the fact that it's 2 hours of me talking and still the Guardian went out of their way to copyright strike it and remove it from view. Which, okay, I guess the Guardian and I just fall on different sides of the React-Gate drama. I hope the Guardian's Full Story Podcast is consistent in their principle of not using other people's content even when it is transformed for commentary or debate. Oh, wait, no. Here's them using clips from The Late Show with Stephen Colbert, Sky News Australia, ABC News, 10 News, Sky News again, Forbes, and CNA News Singapore. So yeah, this takedown of 2 hard hours of my labour wasn't really a principled, hardline stance against copyright infringement on the part of The Guardian, and I highly doubt it was an automated flag considering the video stayed up for a few months after it went up, and this is the message you get when you try to watch it now. This video contains content from The Guardian, who has blocked it on copyright grounds. And let's be honest, why would they even need auto copyright? It's not a top 40 song. The original video is sitting at around 5,000 views. Trust me when I say, Guardian, no one's clipping your shit for clout. My stream was taken down when it was nearly 10 times that. And keep in mind, that is a shitty little side thing we do that we don't even advertise. I was helping your small fledgling podcast grow, you shit cunts. At least give me some context for the takedown. All I've been told is that it was blocked on copyright grounds. It was hours of commentary on a 20-minute podcast. I think that constitutes fair dealing under Australia's copyright laws. Also, what do you think the odds would be that if I was praising that podcast, it wouldn't have been blocked? Like 100%? Well, since no one can push back on me publicly because I'll just copyright strike them, a very neat technique that I learned from The Guardian, so I'll unilaterally decide, yep, it's 100%. Comments will be turned off if there is any dissent from now on, thank you. And I learned that one from the ABC. One may be inclined to assume that I said something to upset them and they're dishonestly claiming copyright to censor criticisms. But you can't even watch the original anymore to see what awful, vile hatred I was spitting on these peak intellectuals. So you're just gonna have to trust me, okay? I was incredibly diplomatic, as I always am, and I didn't make fun of their appearance. It's just a dearth of material on this particular front. There's nothing to laugh at all with these three. No, none of them look silly. Hand on heart, it was just 2 hours of pure facts, rationality, and logic, okay? But even if I was a little bit mean, That shouldn't be a problem for The Guardian. Bastions of the free press that they are, fighting big tech billionaires and authoritarians through the sheer power of ideas embodied in enlightened and rational independent journalism. Yes, that is their call for donations on screen now. Go free press, go. Fuck their wankers. The Guardian really should change their pledge to that fat groiper on Jubilee. They clearly don't have liberal principles. They should just take a leaf out of the Nazi political theorist Carl Schmitt and start applying the friend-enemy distinction to their business strategy. And safe to say, to The Guardian, I'm enemy Geordies.
The whole reason I mentioned Carl Schmitt earlier, and you kind of blew past him, is the friend-enemy distinction.
Past him because of the Nazi
even liberals, when they take power, they want to enact policies and they want to enact protections for their people and their ideas, and they're willing to punish their enemy. And so I'm the same way. I'm like, hey, if you're going to punish me, I'm going to get in power, and I'm going to frankly punish you when you try to leverage power against me. Just that simple.
To actually just use these knobs arguments against them, this is exactly the type of trick Trump would pull. Trust me, I read about it in The Guardian. But at least for Trump it works because he's still barely hanging on to his charm by a thread. This shit just makes you guys look like such little pussies. I mean, you don't need any help in that department, evidently. So here's a free bit of advice. Well, not really advice, just a request so I can make more money from your podcast. When someone criticizes you online, it doesn't feel very nice. In fact, some would go as far as to say that it's the worst feeling on earth. Yep, even worse than pancreatic cancer or endometriosis. Trust me, I know. So I've come up with some coping techniques over the years, Guardian, that I'm very happy to share with you. Just in the future, if anyone ever has a swipe at you, you either address it or you ignore it and do something secretly in private that I won't disclose here because you think that YouTube's stripped with copyright strikes. They are way bigger Nazis when it comes to anybody talking about how to do crack. But the worst responses by a mile, number one is threaten to sue. Number two is what you just did here. You take the criticism down under dodgy pretenses. If you go down any of those legal routes, you're basically just going to end up like Bridget Macron. That's right. A man. Well, looking like a fucking idiot. Can you believe that she lost a defamation case against some brave truth seekers claiming she was born a man? Especially because I can only assume you took down the video solely because your feelings were hurt and nobody has ever dared criticize you before beyond, look at these woke lefty losers at it again, calling for the Great Reset and eating bugs. I mean, yeah, that's a pretty devastating line. And true. But I think The Guardian honestly dislikes me having to go far more than that because they can't dismiss me as the usual QAnon warrior that they like to think, oh, these are the only people that hate us. No, I hate you because your points are crap. They're wrong. And you hearing actual substantive criticisms to your insufferable worldview, you can't handle, evidently. It's just so obvious that they live in their little delirium bubble of seriously thinking they're these high-minded intellectuals when all they do is regurgitate minor party talking points as if they're facts. And that seems to be the full extent of so-called independent journalism in this country. Regurgitating choir hymns. Really stupid, obviously wrong choir hymns. How can you tell they're wrong? This is their response. It also shows how out of touch they are and not used to actual tangible pushback. So come on, Guardian, do a pod reacting to this, and I promise I won't copyright strike it, and I promise you this as well. It'll get at least 10 times more views than your regular pod. And then we can have an honest, open, intellectual debate about how you're ugly. Or whatever the original stream was about, I forget. Oh yeah, that's right. About your shit arguments about minority governments being awesome. In the meantime though, to stop it getting blocked, I've put together another more hectic video on The Guardian that's on Patreon now. I mean, obviously they will want to take that video down anyway, but also, it is just way too naughty for YouTube, so you'll have to sign up to see that. Plus, we kind of just need you to sign up to Patreon anyway to keep this ball going. This is what pays for the staff, the research, the editing. There is a reason that these videos are consistently a cut above the fucking Guardian podcast. That's how my staff get paid. It costs you the price of one shit coffee every month. I think that you can skim out on that when you're all coffee addicts anyway. Also, if you sign up, you get early access videos and exclusive stuff like the Guardian video. There are a bunch of videos that we are going to be putting out and have put out that, again, we cannot put out here. What else? Oh yeah, the urgent threats facing the free press today would be unimaginable for most of the Friendly Geordie's 13-year history, with big tech, billionaires and authoritarians seizing more control of the world's news and information. Our independent journalism needs your support. Before it gets blocked by the fucking Guardian.